The story I'm about to tell is one I heard from someone else. It happened over 10 years ago in a small rural village in Thailand, a place where the river was everything. It was the main route for travel, the source of drinking water, water for daily use, a place to fish, and even a place to bathe. The villagers were friendly, close-knit like family. One evening, as 3 to 4 children were playing in the river, the parents sat nearby on a wooden porch, chatting peacefully. Suddenly, a child's scream tore through the air, shouting that someone was drowning. One boy thrashed around, his hand reaching up into the sky, yelling, "Help me!" before vanishing beneath the water. The other children tried to grab him, but then found themselves struggling too. One by one, they started to sink, as if something invisible was pulling them down beneath the surface. The adults ran and jumped into the river, managing to pull the children out, except for one. They searched frantically, but no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't find the last child. What was strange was that all the children in this village grew up around the river. They had known how to swim for as long as they could remember. How could they all start drowning at the same time? The surviving kids all said the same thing. Something had grabbed their legs. The adults assumed it must have been a river whirlpool, rare but possible. 3 days later, the body of the missing child surfaced. The entire village mourned his death and came together to hold a memorial. Everything might have returned to normal in a week or two, if only more tragedies hadn't followed. 3 days after the funeral, a middle-aged man named Wang was drinking with his friends by the river in the evening light. The sky was streaked with gold and red as the sun dipped low. He was getting tipsy, just starting to feel the buzz. Out of nowhere, he took off his shirt and jumped into the water, telling his friends, "Damn, it's hot. Let me swim for a bit." They saw him swim for a while, then turned back to their drinks, laughing and chatting, assuming he had gotten out without saying anything. But Wang never came out of the water again. His friends were filled with guilt. No one had paid attention, he had drowned, and no one even noticed. Some speculated it was the alcohol, that he got too drunk and couldn't stay afloat. He didn't even call for help. Maybe it was just an accident. But the elders of the village, they didn't think so. Have you ever stared into a calm, quiet river and wondered what might be hiding beneath? The surface gleams like glass, reflecting the sky so peacefully. But underneath that still water, something might be lurking. Something you can't see. Something that's waiting, and what's even more chilling are the stories, the legends told about it. According to ancient beliefs, from Southeast Asia to Europe, stories of water spirits, water wraiths, exist across many cultures. The names may differ: siren in the US, rusalka in Slavic folklore, and Phrai Nam in Thailand. But their appearance is eerily similar. A ghostly woman with long, wet hair clinging to her pale skin, a white dress drifting beneath the water's surface, and a deep, insatiable hunger, a need to drag the living down to the depths below. When tragic incidents began to occur in the river one after another, the village elders grew concerned. They believed something sinister had entered the river, a dark presence hiding beneath the surface. In Thai folklore, the Phrai Nam is the spirit of a woman who died tragically in the water. She may have been murdered, betrayed, or simply fallen in and drowned, her death filled with pain and deep resentment. She never moved on to the next life. Instead, her soul became trapped in the river, transforming into a water ghost that hunts the living, taking their lives as a replacement for her own. The reasons behind her attacks vary. Some say it's revenge, some say it's loneliness, others believe she hungers for souls. But one thing is certain: she seeks life to sustain her existence. The elders brought their fears to the village chief and the abbot of the local temple. They agreed that safety must be tightened and a watch must be kept, so that no more lives are lost to the river's curse. 3 days passed. The village remained quiet, but scattered reports started coming in. Villagers claimed to have seen a woman standing alone at the riverbank late at night. Long, soaking wet black hair, a drenched white dress clinging to her body. Thinking she was one of their own, someone called out to her. She slowly turned, gave a chilling, pale-faced smile, and without a word, leapt straight into the river. In an old wooden boat, a woman in her early 30s was traveling with her 5-year-old daughter. They had just returned from visiting relatives in another town. This route was familiar. It led them back to their riverside home. The sun was setting. The two were chatting joyfully, almost home. "Papa must be waiting for dinner, huh, Mama?" the little girl chirped. "Probably," the mother replied, rowing gently. "But hey, isn't it weird how quiet it is tonight? I haven't seen a single boat." Suddenly, the boat jolted violently. It rocked as if it had hit something underwater, or as if something was pushing from below, trying to flip it. The mother screamed for her daughter to hold onto the edge of the boat as tightly as she could. She kept rowing, desperate to move forward when she saw it. A pale hand clinging to the side of the boat, fingers gripping like it was trying to climb aboard. Panicked, the mother stood up, raising her oar to strike whatever it was. But the weight of the thing pulling the boat was too much. It tipped, and the boat capsized. The mother's cries for help echoed across the water, loud enough to send the riverside into chaos. Dozens of villagers ran to the rescue, diving into the water. They managed to pull both the mother and child out, but it was already too late for the woman. One kind-hearted soul tried performing CPR, but she was gone. Miraculously, the daughter survived. She had clung to the underside of the overturned boat, where just enough air remained for her to breathe. The village chief arrived moments later and collapsed in grief. You guessed it right. The woman who died and the little girl left trembling in shock were his wife and only child. Rumors of the water ghost's wrath began spreading like wildfire. No one dared to bathe, swim, or even travel on the river anymore, especially not after dark. After the funeral and mourning, the village chief, still burning with rage and vowing to destroy the spirit of the water ghost, called a gathering of the villagers, elders, and the abbot. They agreed to summon a revered monk who specialized in ancient Thai occult rituals to perform a ghost-catching ceremony. That night, the monk arrived with 2 disciples, intending to perform the ritual immediately to avoid alarming the villagers. The monk, his 2 disciples, and the village chief boarded a boat while the elders, the abbot, and 2 or 3 other men stood watchfully on the riverbank. The disciples brought out the sacred offerings: white candles, a white sacred thread, sai sin, and a lead weight that had been ritually blessed. The monk tied the sai sin to the enchanted lead weight, and one of the disciples slowly lowered it into the water, as if fishing for something unseen. The monk gave a stern warning. "If anything tugs on this thread, let me know immediately. No one, except this one, must touch it." The boat floated silently through the night, the only sound being the monk's low, continuous chanting. Hours passed. Everyone began to lose hope and let their guard down. Suddenly, the disciple holding the sai-sin shouted in alarm, "Master! Something's pulling the thread, again and again." But the monk didn't stop chanting. The village chief, growing anxious that the water ghost might escape, rushed to help the disciple who was visibly struggling to hold onto the thread. As soon as he grabbed it, the chief was shocked by the strength of whatever was beneath the water. It felt powerful enough to drag someone overboard. Both men, sweating and strained, clung to the thread, locked in a battle of strength with something desperate to drag them into the depths. Then, the monk stepped behind them and snapped at the chief to back away, reminding him he'd been told not to interfere. The monk calmly took the thread and pulled it up as if it weighed nothing. At the end of the line, tied to the enchanted lead weight, was a clump of hair. Thick, black, soaked hair, matted into a tangled, dripping mass, hit the floor of the boat with a sickening slap. The chief stared at it, his mind racing. It shouldn't weigh that much. So why the hell did it feel like it did? Before anyone could react, the chief lunged and began stomping on the hair violently, consumed by rage at the thing that had taken his beloved wife. A sharp, ghostly wail pierced the air. The river roared to life. Waves battered the boat, threatening to capsize it. Everyone rushed to hold the chief back. The monk swiftly seized the clump of hair and threw it into a bowl of holy water. Suddenly, everything stopped. Silence fell. Not even the chirp of a single cricket could be heard. The master monk instructed his 2 disciples to take the lock of hair and burn it at the crematorium in the temple. The village chief volunteered to go along, wanting to make sure everything was truly over. The crematorium, a structure used for cremating corpses to release souls into the afterlife, was built far from the other temple buildings, almost in the middle of the forest. It was around midnight or 1 a.m. The forest was pitch black, dead silent. Not even the leaves stirred. One disciple carried the holy water bowl containing the spirit's lock of hair. The other held an oil lantern for light. The village chief, still burning with rage that outweighed any fear, followed closely behind. They walked down a narrow dirt path. It was obvious that both disciples were stammering and increasingly uneasy. They could feel something watching them, something heavy in the air. The coldness wrapped around them like a suffocating blanket. Suddenly, crash! The disciple carrying the bowl stumbled over a tree root and fell to the ground. The bowl tipped, and the lock of hair scattered. The other disciple didn't wait. He dropped the lantern and bolted without a second thought. Only the village chief remained, stunned by what had just happened. The lock of hair now lay on the dirt, some strands blown by the wind, drifting into a small stream by the path. In that split second, the chief and the fallen disciple heard distinct, fast-approaching footsteps, someone running straight at them. The chief snapped out of it, grabbed the remaining hair, and lit it with the oil lantern. He shouted at the disciple to help gather the rest of the scattered hair and burn it quickly. As the fire consumed the hair, the rushing footsteps faded. But then a chilling whisper crept into their ears.
You think you're clever, huh? Watch over your daughter. I'll be taking her with me.
Then as the flames fully engulfed the hair, that voice twisted into a shriek. Long, agonizing, and slowly fading into nothingness. The village chief returned and told the master monk everything that had happened in the forest. The monk looked troubled. The important thing, he said, was that they hadn't managed to burn all of the spirit's hair. Some of it had been washed away into the stream, which likely allowed the vengeful spirit to linger. Even though its power might not be as strong as before, it was still there. Without another word, the monk turned around and began preparing a ritual. He tied sacred threads into a knot and chanted spells for several minutes. Then he turned back and handed the chief a necklace, made from a holy thread and consecrated lead. It was the same lead used to raise the spirit from the water. "Make sure your daughter wears this necklace," he said, "and tell her, never take it off." That's when he handed the necklace to my father. Yes, my father was that village chief. And I was the little girl on the boat that sank that day. I don't remember much from that time. Just the ghost stories, this tale of the vengeful spirit, told to me over and over by my single father like a bedtime story. A warning, a reminder to never remove this blessed lead amulet necklace. I'm still not sure if I believe everything he said, but lately, strange, unexplainable things have started happening to me. I'll tell you more soon.